Okay. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Get my screen right. Yeah, I'm going to learn how to get it right. Yes, be patient with me. So, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to put on my scholar hat today, 10 o'clock scholar, because the things I talk about, especially in this one, is things I studied. I'm not just talking what I think. This is research. I mean, years and years, decades of research since I was 14. So that make it about over 50 years of research. Because I would always wanted to know who I was. And I didn't even have the will to ask my grandparents till I was much older. In other words, when you're young, you always think you're going to figure things out for yourself. That's the prideful things of youth. You don't want nobody to show you. You want to figure it out for yourself. So about 30 years, I said, wait, I need some help. I haven't figured this thing out yet. That's when I started talking to my grandparents, actually my grandfather. And I'm glad I did, because he set me on the road to change my whole way of thinking. I asked him about slavery. He jerked and got very angry and said, we've never been enslaved. Like that was an insult to ask that question. So that took me on a different road. I said, okay, we haven't been enslaved. We haven't been enslaved. But everybody keep talking about us being a slave. So over the years, I've evaluated that idea, and I see more proof of what he said, because he also told me of our ancestry from Tunisia. Uh, yeah. So, this is such a big subject, but I'm going to take my time and want you to listen and take notes and do your research, okay? What I have before you, what you're looking at, is the vote of the UN. This whole thing is just a sham. It's a lie to begin with, and it's a sham to keep a whole people disenfranchised, to keep them victimized. And in America, this movement started big time with Frederick Douglass. My research showed me. He's the first person to collaborate with the government on seeing us as less than, in other words, that status as being black. He accepted that status, and that set the stage for years to come. Man, this is such a wide subject. I'm just gonna thought stream it as the thoughts come, so you can put structure to it later. Now, if you agree that your ancestors been here for centuries, my question is one question for you. If that's the case, why did you call yourself black, Negro, colored? Mostly people use black now, Afro-American. If you've been here for centuries, since you've been here for centuries, Black is a slavery term. That's a term from slavery. It's a label calling you a slave, and you calling yourself a slave when you say black. That doesn't go back centuries. That just go back to slavery. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that you are traumatizing an event as traumatizing as slavery. The more you talk about it, the more you self-traumatize yourself from a false narrative to begin with. And what is it doing to your children? It's giving them an inferiority complex. Do you feel empowered when they tell you you was an ex-slave, you come from? Did that give you strength and power? No. It does the opposite. And that's what it does to our youth. It makes them feel less than. Now, the truth is, our ancestors who came from Africa, like Mansa Musa, they came as the richest man in the world with gold. I mean, camel loads of gold. That's the descendants that we come from. They didn't come here as slaves. And at that time, we was ruling the world. Do you know any history before 1492? No. Because if you did, you wouldn't call yourself black. You would call yourself by the name in the law, which are Moors, M-O-O-R, or M-U-U-R. That's different spelling of it. In other words, what these stories do, Kunta Kinte and all that, it keeps you as being something you're not. It puts a narrative that you have a history, you just a slave, so that can justify the treatment of you, seeing you less than. So you don't want that narrative. So I'm giving hats off to this administration because they was taking that out of the schools, that slavery teachings, talking about black history courses. You see, black history, what is that? Slave history. That's not the true history. That's the slave history, the manufactured history. So when this administration said we don't need that, I was saying, yeah, maybe we're going to really prosper and grow now. So every time you have a positive movement, there's always a negative movement coming right behind it to try to maintain the status quo. And it's interesting it's coming from Ghana, the Ghanaian president, Mahama, because Ghana was the first place these proponents of self-hatred of African slavery, like Du Bois, this is where he went to retire. So they got a big history in this narrative, talking about these dungeons was there where they, come on people. Do you know who the slaves were? Slavic people. Slave comes from the term Slavic. So-called white people in West Europe, they were the slaves. The Moors enslaved them. And it was because they was being It's because they didn't know anything. They didn't have anything. They didn't have civilization. So it's for their benefit we enslaved them to teach them civilization. But they don't teach that. They don't talk about that. But those was the real slaves. But they flipped this whole narrative of slavery, make it you to rob you of your inheritance. That's the only purpose. You know, there's a lot of us talking now about our indigenous history. More proof is coming up about who we really are. The so-called real Indians, that's the name they gave us. Even James Baldwin said when he used to grow up watching the TV, he was rooting for the Indians. He's rooting for the Cowboys, shoot the Indians. Then he found out the Indians was us. He felt betrayed. So everybody's lying, everybody's lying, everybody's lying. But if you don't know your history, the lies are going to continue on for generations and generations. It's just up to you to know and teach your children the truth. Now, what benefit to Muhammad? There's two of these Mahatmas sound like Muhammad. One in New York, the mayor, and then the other one in Ghana, the president. What benefit do they have teaching this? How does it benefit them? Well, Ghana has a history. It's a money grab for them. Remember they said the year of return was it 2019 in Ghana? Even before then, in 2007, they started recognizing slavery and come back home. Yeah, you come with $2,500. So it wasn't nothing really but a money grab for the nation of Ghana, and still is. And that's all we want to do is just a money grab to get you to come there and spend money and enrich their nation. Remember now, these are poor nations who really love to be colonized. They're not revolutionaries like the Sahel region, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, breaking off the shackles of colonialism, working as a people to change their condition. No, these people like Ghana and Nigeria, they still want the colonists. They still want to be slaves in their own land. And he is, he's terrible for that. He's bringing colonists while the free people are chasing the colonists out. Remember, Burkina Faso said, we don't need the French to teach us how to fight. We fight our own enemies. Mahatma, he said, oh, we need the French to come help us to fight. He said, come on in. He bringing the English to help him to. Everybody to help with his own people. These people are paid off. They're not teaching the people what they should do to be free. And we way over here, a money grab for us, calling us out of our names. Anyone call you black and you know who you are, you should be insulted. Now this New York, oh man, now you see the agenda. Because as long as you can identify with being an ex-slave and black, you're never gonna improve. Because you're always gonna be stigmatized and less expected of you, or you can be given free stuff. Because you're a victim. Do you know that's trauma? That's a continual trauma that they put on you. So it's slavery, just continuous centuries of slavery. That's all it is. Now we were in prison, made prisoner of war in our own land. If you see the movie 12 Years a Slave, that shows you how we was, because of our knowledge and skill, we was rerouted from the north to the south. Yeah, that did happen. And that was, they call that slavery. But if you just 12, how can you be a slave for 12 years? Think about it. That wasn't 12, it wasn't slavery. It was being prisoners. You're in prison in your own country, prisoners of war, because the fight has continued and will continue until we as a people come back and understand who we are as Moors. That's our lawful name. That's the name that we have treaties in. When we ruled, when we allowed the Europeans to come here and start setting up colonies. You don't know your power and who. Do you know the Constitution from us, indigenous people? It's not nothing they did in that Constitution. We had this law system established before they came. And they just came and stole it, claimed it as theirs. So it really is disheartening when you know the truth and you see how everybody's going into a lie, teaching you to keep the lie. They want to keep that lie alive. And I thought we got rid of that with the passing of Mr. Jackson, because he was the one who was really a strong proponent of this African slavery narrative, even the point of calling us Afro-Americans. So that was in other words, they want to keep this whole thing, this lie alive, keep you from your greatness, from your knowledge of your greatness. It's just going to ignore history. And I saw these people on a panel. I say, man, these people, they don't know history. Their history was before 1492. They do not know that they was here, the most prosperous people in the world. People went from here to Egypt. The mound builders started here, and then they developed the building pyramids. And this is not something I'm just ripping off my head. The knowledge, the research tell you that. Now you got people who lie in the research, and you got people who tell the truth. So you just got to do your own research and find the ones that's telling the truth. So I had to just talk about this for a minute and hope y'all get out of this spell. This is a spell that y'all in, to keep talking about yourself as being slaves. And the world want to keep you in that spell bound. So you never wake up and you're always looking for somebody else to tell you who you are. It's sickening, it's disgusting, and I'm sick of hearing about it. So do your own research, people. And you'll stop calling yourself black, nigger, or colored, and your connection with slavery. You was the slave owner, if any.